There's a reason why some men effortlessly attract women, while others try endlessly and still fall short. Perhaps you've experienced it yourself. The more you text her, the more distant she becomes. The kinder you are, the colder she gets. It's not just confusing. It's frustrating, even disheartening. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The men who naturally draw women in don't necessarily have better looks, more money, or higher status. Instead, they operate from a different mindset. They move through the world with a certain presence, a psychological edge that flips the traditional dating script on its head. This video reveals 5 powerful Machiavellian-style rules for attraction. Not about deception or pretending to be someone you're not, but about being intentional, emotionally resilient, and sharply tuned into human behavior. Follow these principles, and you won't need cheesy pickup lines or rehearsed tricks. You'll become the kind of man women notice, remember, and naturally feel pulled toward. Let's dive right into Rule 1. Build your value. Let her chase you. Most men grow up thinking they must actively pursue women, relentlessly. They believe that sending dozens of texts, showering her with praise, and proving how much they care is the way to her heart. But this approach often backfires. Why? Because too much effort too soon sends an unspoken message. I need your approval to feel valuable. Whether you say it or not, that energy comes off as needy, and nothing kills attraction faster than neediness. Picture this. 2 men are interested in the same woman. The first man is always available. He texts her constantly, responds instantly, and gives compliments like candy. He's willing to drop everything just to talk to her. The second man? He's different. He's confident, composed. When he's with her, he's fully present, engaged, respectful, and attentive. But once they part, he shifts focus back to his life, his goals, his mission. He doesn't feel the need to text non-stop. He respects her space and maintains his own. Which man do you think she'll be more intrigued by? It's almost always the second one. Why? Because his attention feels earned, not given away freely. We're wired to value what's rare. When your time and energy are too easily available, like snacks from a vending machine, they lose their impact, even if your intentions are genuine. But when you're building your own path, growing, improving, living with purpose, and still choose to give her a slice of your time, that attention becomes meaningful. It signals that you are a man of value, not someone trying to prove it. It's not about playing hard to get or being cold. It's about not making yourself too available too quickly. You're not ignoring her to manipulate. You're simply living your life. If she takes hours to reply, don't jump to respond in seconds. Not as payback, but because you've got things going on. You're not sitting by your phone waiting. You've got purpose, momentum. Let her truly feel your presence when you're with her, and your absence when you're not. That contrast is powerful. It creates mystery. She'll begin to wonder, why isn't he always chasing like the others? What's keeping him so grounded? Why does his attention feel so different? That curiosity is powerful, and it often makes her reach out first, whether it's a text, a call, or just finding ways to be near you. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer the one chasing. She begins leaning in, seeking your attention, wondering what makes you different from the rest. And that's exactly how you turn the tables, from being the pursuer to becoming the man she's intrigued by. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's not about playing games or being distant for the sake of it. It's about being focused on your own path, your goals, your passions, and allowing her to be drawn into that world organically. You're not centering your life around her. Instead, you're inviting her into something that's already meaningful and fulfilling. And here's the final takeaway. When your life is rich, engaging, and full of purpose, your time and attention stop being taken for granted. They become rewards. So stop chasing. Stop pouring all your energy into winning someone over. Start building a life so compelling that she wants to be part of it. Because a man who truly knows his worth doesn't beg others to see it. He simply lives in alignment with it. And that silent confidence, they notice. Rule 2. Keep some secrets. Stay mysterious. Here's where many men unknowingly sabotage their own attraction. They meet a woman they're excited about, and in an effort to connect quickly, they spill everything. On the very first date, or even in the first few conversations, they share their deepest emotions, childhood traumas, dreams, insecurities, ex-relationships, regrets, as if honesty means exposure without boundaries. But here's what they miss. Too much openness too soon doesn't create connection. It kills mystery. And mystery is magnetic. Think about it. Have you ever been hooked on a movie because you had to know what would happen next? Or found yourself fascinated by someone who only gave you glimpses of their story? That's the power of the unknown. Let's look at 2 scenarios. Guy number 1 lays everything on the table during the first date. His past heartbreaks, his struggles, his entire life story. It's all out there. While his honesty might seem refreshing, it leaves nothing for her to explore. Guy number 2, however, shares just enough to spark interest. Maybe he tells her about a passion project he's working on, a wild travel story, or a strange talent. But he doesn't unravel every detail of his life. Instead, he listens more than he talks. He asks thoughtful questions and stays present in the moment. Now, ask yourself, who is she thinking about the next day? Almost always, it's the second guy. Why? Because he left space. Space for curiosity, space for wonder, space for her imagination to roam. And here's a powerful truth. Real connection doesn't require an emotional data dump. You don't need to lay your soul bare in the first hour to be genuine. Let her learn about you naturally, like reading a great novel, one captivating chapter at a time. Don't spoil the ending on page 1. If she asks about your life, be truthful, but keep it light and balanced. Don't rush into deep confessions. If you've got talents, strong beliefs, or fascinating ideas, share them slowly, like revealing hidden gems. That way, each layer she uncovers feels like a discovery, not a monologue. And mystery isn't just about words. It's in your behavior too. Be a little unpredictable. Don't narrate every detail of your day. Don't flood your social media with constant updates. You're not required to explain every decision or justify every action. In fact, the more you leave unsaid, the more compelling you become. Let her wonder. Let her guess. Because here's the thing. What she imagines about you is often more captivating than what you could ever describe. A sense of mystery allows her to project her curiosity, and that's where deep attraction starts to grow. Machiavelli, the master strategist himself, once said, "Power often lies in what you don't reveal." And he was right. Mystery is not about hiding out of fear. It's about holding back with confidence. It shows that you know your story has depth, and you're in no rush to be completely read. You're holding back because you respect your energy. You're not a glass of water poured out in one go. You're a deep well, calm, powerful, and full of depth. Something that draws people in slowly, making them lean closer, wanting to understand more. You offer a sense of richness and quiet strength that isn't revealed all at once. It takes effort, curiosity, and time to reach your core. So remember, don't give away everything too fast. Be honest, yes, but be intentional. Don't let eagerness replace composure. Let her wonder about the layers you haven't shared yet. Let her ask questions. Let her explore. Because when you hold a little back, not from fear, but from strength, you create intrigue, a sense of mystery that invites discovery. And when a woman has to invest a little to understand you, you instantly become more compelling. You're not trying to play games. You're showing quiet confidence, and that, in itself, is a form of power. Rule 3. Stay calm. Stay in control. There's one thing that can dismantle attraction almost instantly: losing control of your emotions. When a man starts acting desperate, gets overly reactive, or allows jealousy to take over, he unknowingly projects insecurity. And insecurity, no matter how well-intentioned, is not attractive. Let's be real. How many times have you seen a guy spiral because a woman didn't respond to his message right away? Maybe he sends a flood of texts, or worse, sulks, sends passive-aggressive comments, or even acts cold and distant to punish her. In his mind, he may think he's defending his worth, but what she sees is instability. She may feel sympathy, yes, but she won't feel attraction. And without respect, attraction fades quickly. As Machiavelli once said, real power is staying calm, especially when things go wrong. That wisdom fits modern dating perfectly. A man who remains calm when plans fall through or things don't go as expected, he sets himself apart. He doesn't cling to control or demand constant validation. He keeps his cool. He adapts. For example, if she cancels plans unexpectedly, a strong man doesn't guilt-trip her. He simply says, "No problem," and continues with his day. If she throws a playful jab, he doesn't sulk or take it personally. He might raise an eyebrow, smile, and tease her back. Why? Because his emotions aren't on a leash, tugged around by her every move. He's grounded in himself. That's what makes his presence magnetic. Women feel safer around a man who is emotionally steady. He doesn't flinch at chaos. He doesn't react to every bump in the road. He's not looking to be rescued or constantly reassured. He's already centered, already complete. Here's the deeper layer most men miss. Women sometimes test emotional strength, often without realizing it. She might delay replying, say something bold, or act a little distant. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because she's observing your emotional response. Are you stable or easily shaken? If you react with frustration, neediness, or panic, she'll sense fragility. But if you remain calm, even amused, she senses strength. And that strength, that poise under pressure, that's what builds deep respect. Let's also talk about emotional attachment. It's natural to like someone, but liking someone doesn't mean you have to rush into intense feelings. Just because you had a great first or second date doesn't mean you should be thinking about her non-stop or planning your future together right away. Stay grounded. Keep your balance. Focus on your own journey, your career, your passions, your friendships. That way you won't lose yourself in the excitement of new connection. Because once you start obsessing over every text, replaying every moment, or feeling anxious when she takes time to reply, that's a red flag. Not just about her, but about your own emotional state. If you start thinking about her 24/7 or feel anxious every time she takes a while to, it means you're giving her too much control over your emotions, and that can make you act in ways that push her away. You might not notice it at first, a fast heartbeat when she takes too long to reply, a surge of frustration when she changes plans, or a wave of insecurity when she doesn't seem as interested. But slowly, these feelings begin to steer your behavior. And when your actions come from emotional reaction instead of intention, attraction suffers. Instead, keep your emotional center strong. When you feel anxious or upset, don't let those feelings drive your next move. Pause, breathe, step back. Ask yourself, am I reacting or responding? There's a huge difference. One is impulsive and based on fear. The other is grounded and calm. When you take a moment to think clearly and respond with composure, you show emotional mastery. And this simple habit, staying in control of your emotions, becomes a quiet kind of power. It shows her you're a man she can trust, respect, and feel safe around. Because in a world full of men who overreact, complain, chase, and lose themselves in emotion, the one who stays grounded stands out. He becomes the exception. He doesn't beg for love. He earns respect, and that respect becomes the foundation of real attraction. Rule 4. Know your limits. Expect respect. Being kind is a good thing. It reflects empathy, compassion, and emotional intelligence. But here's where it often goes wrong. When kindness becomes a cover for fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of losing someone. If you're constantly kind, even in situations where someone crosses a line or disrespects you, that's not strength, it's passivity. And whether spoken or not, women can feel the difference. If you let her cancel plans over and over without consequence, if you sit silently while she flirts with other men in front of you, if she mocks you or makes disrespectful jokes and you just smile to avoid drama, she may not call it out directly, but something inside her shifts. Respect starts to slip away. And when respect fades, attraction isn't far behind. You might be telling yourself, I'm being patient, I'm being the nice guy. But what she might be thinking is, this man doesn't even stand up for himself. How can I truly admire him? Because here's the truth. Being nice only works when it comes from confidence, not fear. A truly attractive man has boundaries. He knows where his line is drawn. He doesn't need to raise his voice, argue, or try to control anyone. He doesn't need to threaten or punish. He simply stands firm in what he knows he deserves. And if that line gets crossed, he doesn't ignore it. He calmly, clearly, and confidently speaks up. For example, if she makes a joke that cuts too deep, he doesn't fake a laugh to keep things light. He lets her know, without anger, that didn't sit right with me. If she keeps canceling or changing plans last minute, he doesn't chase harder. He steps back and lets her feel the distance. Not to punish, but to remind her that his time, too, has value. And the most important part? He follows through. Because anyone can say they have boundaries. But if you say, I won't tolerate that, and then allow it again and again, your words lose their meaning. You become a man whose actions don't match his intentions. And that's not attractive. That's forgettable. But when you respect yourself first, before trying to earn anyone else's affection, others feel that, and they begin to respect you too. Surprisingly to some, most women don't want full control in a relationship. They don't want a man who folds under pressure or who says yes to everything just to avoid conflict. They want a man with a backbone, a man who leads not with force, but with quiet strength, a man who values himself enough to say, this is what I allow, and this is where I stop. That's what creates trust. That's what creates emotional safety. That's what creates attraction. So if someone pushes your limits, don't stay silent just to keep them. Speak up calmly and clearly. You don't need to shout. You don't need to plead. Just let them know. This is where I draw the line. If they respect that, the connection grows stronger, more balanced, and more genuine. If they don't, you walk away, not to punish them, but to protect your peace. Because real confidence isn't about keeping everyone happy. It's not about chasing approval or pleasing others at the expense of your truth. It's about staying true to yourself, even if it means walking alone. That kind of self-respect is magnetic. It sends a silent but powerful message. I choose me. Rule 5. Protect your freedom. Stay sovereign. Let me tell you something powerful, something that most people don't fully understand. A man who truly controls his own life is rare. We call this man sovereign. He doesn't answer to validation. He doesn't shrink himself to fit into someone else's expectations. He doesn't lose focus every time temptation knocks or emotions flare. He lives by his own code. His life has direction, and he never abandons that direction just to please someone else. He doesn't belong to anyone. He isn't controlled by feelings. He doesn't follow someone else's lead just to be liked. Instead, he chooses consciously. He leads with purpose. He's building something real, something that matters to him. He has a mission that fuels him, and no matter how tempting the distraction, he doesn't drop it for anyone. Now, let's be clear. He's not cold. He's not disconnected. He's not selfish. In fact, he can be deeply kind, generous, affectionate, even romantic. But here's the key difference. He never forgets who he is. Even when he's with someone he deeply cares for, he doesn't dissolve into the relationship. He maintains his identity. If he has a business to grow, he doesn't cancel his entire schedule just because someone texts, come over. If he's planned a gym session, if he's focused on a work project, or carved out time to improve himself, he honors that. Not because he's rigid, but because he's committed. Why? Because his goals matter. His purpose matters. And purpose, believe it or not, is wildly attractive. When a man is focused, when he moves through life with clarity, direction, and consistency, people feel it. That kind of energy doesn't need to beg for attention. It draws attention naturally. It speaks before he even opens his mouth. You can see it in his posture, in his schedule, in his priorities. That energy is magnetic. He's not trying to prove his worth. He's living it. And women can sense it almost instinctively. They're drawn to it, not because he says the right words, but because he radiates strength, structure, and the fire of someone on a mission. So, here's what you need to understand. Don't give up your mission just to chase a relationship. Don't pause your life to keep someone else interested. Don't shrink your dreams to fit inside someone else's world. Don't lose yourself trying to keep someone who should be inspired to stay. Instead, build a powerful, purpose-driven life and invite her into that world. Let her see what you're building. Let her feel the drive behind your actions. Share the journey, but never abandon it. Never leave your own path just to walk hers. Because when you live like that, when your focus remains firm, when your path stays true, you don't just become attractive, you become unforgettable. Machiavelli said it clearly. A man who doesn't rule his own life is easy to forget. And it's true. A man who loses himself in love, who makes himself too available, who gives up his time, his goals, and his strength just to be accepted, eventually becomes invisible. Not because he's unworthy, but because he stopped valuing himself. But a man who protects his time, his space, and his mission, that man stands out. That man becomes impossible to ignore. He doesn't just drift through life, he shapes it. He creates impact. Value yourself first, and she will too. Let's bring everything together. These 5 rules aren't about playing games. They're not tricks. They're not mind games or manipulation tactics. They are about transformation, about becoming the man who naturally attracts respect, love, and real connection without ever having to beg for it. Let's go over them again. You stop chasing because you now see your own value. You stay mysterious because you don't need to overshare for attention. You stay calm because your emotions don't control you anymore. You set boundaries because you finally respect yourself enough to say no. And you protect your freedom because you have a life that matters. These 5 principles don't make you cold or distant. They don't harden your heart or strip away your emotions. Instead, they make you centered, strong, and grounded in purpose. These guiding beliefs give you a quiet confidence, a steady energy that others notice without you having to say a word. Because when you truly start to value yourself, the world starts to treat you differently. Your energy shifts, and so does the way people respond to you. People begin to respect you more. They recognize something solid in you, something they can't manipulate or shake. And yes, women are drawn to you, but not because you tried harder, not because you sent more messages or made bigger promises. They're drawn to you because you lived better. You focused on your path, stayed rooted in your mission, and became someone who doesn't chase approval, but leads with quiet certainty. You become a man who doesn't ask to be chosen. You do the choosing. You don't seek validation or compete for attention. You don't feel the need to prove your worth with grand gestures. Instead, you walk with purpose. You speak with clarity. You act with intention. And slowly, you become someone worth remembering, not just in a moment, but long after you're gone. So, here's what I'll leave you with. Be the prize. Keep your power. Stay sovereign. Let her feel your presence, not through desperate chasing, but through the gravity of your calm. Let her admire your direction, the way you move with focus and self-respect. Let her see your strength, not in your words or loud declarations, but in how consistently you live by your values. Because in a world full of lost men, men unsure of themselves, men who bend at every emotional wave, the man who knows who he is, what he wants, and what he will never compromise on. That man is unforgettable. That man doesn't beg for love. He doesn't collapse under pressure. He doesn't dissolve his identity just to be liked. He leads, he builds, he holds. So as you walk away from this moment, remember this. Be the prize. Carry yourself with the quiet dignity of a man who knows exactly what he brings to the table. You don't need to announce your value. You embody it. Keep your power. Don't hand it away in moments of doubt, fear, or insecurity. Protect it like a flame that fuels your vision. Stay sovereign. Guard your mission like it's sacred, because it is. Your time, your energy, your direction, they are not up for negotiation. Move through life with purpose, with conviction. Let her feel your strength, not in how loud you speak, but in how calm and steady you remain. Let her feel your presence, not in 100 scattered messages, but in the few moments that are full of meaning and intention. Let her see your depth, not all at once, but gradually, piece by piece, over time. Let her discover you. Let her earn the right to witness who you really are. And most of all, let her choose to be part of your life. Not because you begged, not because you pushed, but because your life is already full of value, full of peace, full of direction and meaning. In the end, it's not about getting every woman's attention. It never was. It's about becoming the man whose presence commands respect, the man whose silence speaks louder than noise, and the man whose life is so rich, so purpose-driven, so grounded, that anyone who enters it feels grateful just to be there.